There we go. Awesome. I had to look it up quick on uh, on this thing here, the OBS, whatever. And you gotta write some. You gotta do it some different way than I did it originally. I don't know why. That's weird. Anyway, let's get everybody back up in here. So there's only one viewer currently, so we gotta wait for more people to come back. Um, okay. So yeah, let's just give a minute for everybody to come back in, and we will get back to it. Is more people back in here? Should type something in the chat so I know, because YouTube seems to be like updating slow. Hey, what's up? Okay, so we got that fixed, and we can get back to it. So, like I was saying, when you see this, or anything, you know, when you see something like this, you know that it is a tag, okay? Now, again, like I was saying the other day, you're not going to memorize all of the tags that there are, right? And we can take a look. We could take a look at something like this. All HTML tags list. So these are all the HTML tags, okay? There are specific tags, like they are specific, like you can't just type in what I did here, right? But this is just giving you an example of the structure, okay? So that you know what you're looking at. But there are specific tags, okay? And like I'm saying, you're not going to memorize all of these, off the top of your head. You'll start to memorize them as you practice. But you'll know when you see something like this what it is. It is a tag. And what a tag does, and tags, you will hear people say tags. You will also hear the term element. It's the same thing, okay? A tag is an element. So these tags, they build the structure of the website. Now open up your editor. Yeah, you should have downloaded your VS Code and installed it by now. If you haven't done that yet, you can do it now. It doesn't take long. It takes like a second. YouTube link on Blackboard doesn't work when you click on it unless you tell it to open from a new tab. Yeah, I know. It's Blackboard blocking YouTube. You gotta copy and paste it. They just probably block social media. That's all that is. 12 seconds to see your own message pop up. That's weird. That must be YouTube. It must be a YouTube delay thing. It might be because I made this stream public. I made it public so that anybody can just join. Like, it's not like I have a popular channel with a whole heap of subscribers anyway, so that's why I use this channel. So, it's whatever. But that must be the reason for that. But yeah, so these tags, they define or they describe the structure of the web page. So let's start building a web page. Will the video be uploaded? Yeah. I'm gonna leave it up, and I'm gonna post the links to it in Blackboard too. So doc type HTML. That's a tag. The declaration tag, right? This is also a tag. This is another element that we have put on the page. And I'm going to bit by bit go through this, okay? So let's copy this path. Anytime you want to look at what you're working on in VS Code, right-click on the tab that you're working on and go to Copy Path, and then just paste that path in a web browser, and it'll bring up the page. Now, obviously there's nothing on the page because there's no content, right? The difference between these tags and if I write something on there, this is just plain text. This will show up on the site, right? If I refresh it because it's plain text. Now, typically, we don't do this. We would wrap this in paragraph text if we wanted that to show up. But just so that you know the difference between tags and content, content is going to show up on the page, but tags themselves are just structure, okay? So we got the HTML tag on there. This is the biggest tag on the web page. So let's take a look at this and go to Inspect Element. And we can highlight the HTML tag and we can see it there. It is there. It's hard to see because it's so small, but if I zoom in, you'll see there's the HTML tag. This is the HTML element. Now, we can see this element now, but there's nothing in there. One thing about these elements is that the HTML element is a block element because you can see it goes from one end to the browser all the way to the other end of the browser. We're looking at this blue line that we see pop up here at the top when I mouse over the HTML element. This is a block element. Now, another thing about these elements is that they resize themselves depending on what you put in there. So the more stuff you put in this jar is the bigger the jar will get, right? So we're going to add more in here, and it's going to be more area of this white space here that'll be highlighted because the HTML element itself will grow with what you put in there, right? So we got the HTML element. Now we got to add another tag, another element, which is the head. And remember, we only put metadata in the head. Okay? Then we will put the body. Okay? So I always say to remember, when you're starting to memorize this boilerplate, you just want to remember, you declare the page as an HTML element, then you write the HTML element itself. It's easy to remember, right? Because you're writing an HTML document. And then you put the head, and it's just like a human body. Head, and then the rest of the body, right? What goes on in the head? Metadata, automatically running things in the background, like beating your heart, making your kidneys work, and so on. This is a good way to memorize this stuff. Like, what does your head do? What does your brain do? It runs automatic functions that you do not have to think about, right? Again, beating your heart. You don't think about doing that. If you had to think about doing that, then we wouldn't be able to do anything. So that's what the head is for. The body is for what we see, what we put out into the world. Okay? And again, all of these are tags. Tag, tag, tag. And we're going to put some more tags in there. So we'll put a div in here. And we're going to keep it real simple. We're not going to add any classes or any IDs, anything like that yet. We don't need to yet. This is a new tag, a new jar, a new container that we can put stuff in. But remember, this container that we just wrote here is nested inside of this container, right? It's a jar within a jar. The difference between, say, these ones, or let's say these two, the head and the body, right? Let me just get rid of this for 1 second. The head and the body. These are also two containers. Now, this is kind of a bad example because the head is something that we don't put content in. But regardless of that, these two are not inside of each other. They're beside each other. See how they're on the same level? Like one of these is not indented, right? They're both just here. These two are now, technically, all of these are inside of the HTML. They're all nested inside of the HTML. Now, I do not indent these because of because it's just the initial structure of the page. Like, I don't find that there's any need to do this. You could if you wanted to, and it would be sound to do so, but I think it just makes it more messy than it needs to be. I only start indenting inside of the body. To give you a better example of what I'm talking about, that should be there. This div here is a child of the body. Okay? It's inside of the body. So this jar is inside of this jar. If I were to put another div in here, then we would have a jar that is within a jar that is within a jar. Go back to our Russian Matryoshka dolls, and this is what I was talking about. You can have jars within jars within jars, containers within containers. But now, if you see something like this, this is different now. Instead of this being inside of here, making it like this, the child of this, now they're siblings. Right? Now these two divs are siblings. They're like brother and sister now. Instead of where, if I did it like this, how I had it before, now they're parent and child. Okay? Visualizing it would be like the difference between having the smaller Russian doll inside of the bigger one, or having two of them side by side. Is this making sense to everybody, how I'm explaining it? Let me know in the chat. I know there's a delay on this chat, but let me know. Awesome. Okay, so that is the difference between the two. So when you hear anybody, whether it's me or you're watching a YouTube video or one of your other props or whatever, when you hear them say this is a child element, then you know that all it is just some tag that is inside of another tag. That's all it is. Simple, right? If you hear them say it's a sibling element, then you know that they're like brother and sister, just kind of chilling out like that. Okay? That is the relation of these elements. Because remember, every one of these elements is an object. Just like if you look around your room or wherever you are right now, and you see an object, imagine that object as an element. So like I have stools by my little bar there. The stool, element. The stool itself is an element, right? My vape in my hand, that is an element. The object itself, it's an element. These things here are just elements. They're objects on the page. Okay. So, with that being explained, we can write some more of these things in here. And we will write another div, a child, inside of the one that we already wrote. And this div is going to be like a header. Right? Remember, not the head. This is the head. This is going to be the header. And we're going to write some h1 in here. Now, what is h1? Well, we're going to show you what h1 is, along with all the other h's. This is some heading things. So, we're going to show you how these work. h1, text. Whoops. h2, text. h3, text, all the way up to h6, and you cannot go past h6 because h7 does not exist. There's no such thing as h7. only up to 6, 5, and then H6 text, and we can save that. Yeah, this is going to be the header, but it's acting, well, it's not really the header anymore because we did all this, so it's just a content area now. But it's all good. We don't need to put a header. We're just writing, you know. So let's look at it now. So this is H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. Okay? Now, let's also come back and look at the HTML element and see how it has grown. Before, when there was nothing in it, it was just a tiny little bar up at the top, but now when we mouse over it, we can see that it is now still the height of whatever we put in it automatically. We can manually change this if we want to, but we're not going to be doing any of that right now. We're just messing with pure HTML right now. Pure basic HTML business. So we can see this has grown. This has grown along with it because the body element, see, this is the body element inside of the HTML element. You see? There's also another thing that I want you to notice about the body, and this is something that we're going to be later on down the line changing, actually. See the yellow, or not yellow, the peach looking border around our body? That border is margin. Somebody in the sync class was asking, do these different tags behave differently just because of the sheer tag that it is? And the answer is yes, it does. I mean, we can see that they do here with these H1s all the way to H6. They automatically have their own size. The body automatically has a margin on it. And sometimes we're going to want to get rid of that margin. Okay? Just something to keep in mind. Let me just make sure we're on track, going over the things we need to go over. Okay, so semantic tags. Now, this is not written semantically. Why? Because we have used divs. Now, here's the thing. This div here typically would be a wrapper. So the page structure would start here. No, okay, let's do this. Let's write a larger boilerplate non-semantically and then write it semantically. We can keep this. How will we do this now? Easiest way so we don't get confused. Like, you can just copy or X that off and keep it in your clipboard. If you like Command X or Control X, so that you can kind of paste it in later, you know what I mean? Keep it in your clipboard. And we're going to write the boilerplate, well, a larger boilerplate. We're going to do it non-semantically, and then we're going to do it semantically, okay? So look, if we do this, we write an element, and we say class is wrapper. Okay. Then we say inside of that we have a div with a class of header. And we're going to be going over this more. After I'm done showing you this, we're going to stop with the adding classes or anything, because we're not going over what these are yet. But I have to show you the difference between the two. So for me to do that, I have to show you this. Header, nav, div class main, like main content you can put there. I usually just put main, and then the last one will be the footer. Okay, so like I was saying before, we have a jar, the body, this is a jar. Then we have this wrapper, which is a jar, and this jar contains a bunch of siblings. But as you can see, these siblings are literally parts of the page. You can see what they are: the header, the navigation bar, the main content bar, and the footer. They're clearly labeled. So you know exactly, I mean, even starting from scratch, when you look at this, and I know like you're seeing this and whatever, but when you look at this, you would intuitively know what this jar is for, because it says it's the header. You would know that this is the navigation bar, and so on, right? Let me just make sure the chat, okay, yeah. You would know. But the semantic way of writing this would be like this: header, nav, section, and then footer. This here does the exact same thing as how I had it before. These tags will behave the exact same way. They'll do the exact same thing as I had it before. It's just the non-semantic way and the semantic way. That is it. Okay? So that part we will leave at that for now. And I mean, we'll explain more in detail about it, but that's the simple concept of semantic versus non-semantic. Okay, the non-semantic way is you're writing div tags and you give them classes, and the semantic way is you just write, you know, header, nav, section, whatever, footer. If you had more than one content area, then you can have more than one section. Okay. So let's get back to this basics here, and put this back in there. You should still have that in your clipboard. Okay. The file structure. And this is something that is important as well. So let me do this. Move to, and I'll make a new folder, and I'll call it class 2. Okay. When you start a project, right? I mean, what is your project going to contain? It's going to contain a folder, and then files, and more folders within the folder, right? So let's pretend this is your, I'll just rename this to like project or assignment 1. Okay. And we can kind of copy all that. This is what you do, step by step. You make your assignment folder or your project folder, whatever. You may want to copy everything that you had so far. We can rewrite it. It's not that big of a deal. But you make your folder, like I did here. You drag and drop it onto VS Code, right? It's going to ask you whatever, because I have all these tabs open. Do I want to save? I don't want to save it, whatever. It'll reload, and it'll ask you to trust the author. You're the author, so yes, you can trust it. And once you do that, you're gonna the UI will reload, and you'll see your folder there, assignment 1. See it? Now, we are going to build the. I don't know why it isn't letting my message send. It is letting your message send. It's just slow. It's like YouTube is being really slow. Or at least the chat is anyway. So once you have that folder loaded in there, you can start building the folder structure, the file structure of your folder. Okay? Now, just like it has in the lecture, what do we start with? We start with an index.html, and then we can build on top of that. Okay? And there's also a couple folders we're going to have to add inside of this folder as well. So first we start. Yeah. Open, damn it. Okay, so we open the folder in the white space of the folder, or we could use these icons here, like new file, new folder, and then this is the refresh button. Most of the time you'll just see me right click inside of the white space of the folder and say new file. Once I say new file, I can make my index.html. Bam. And remember, no capitals, no spaces, just index.html. Always. Even if I make a new folder in here, just for an example, I can put another index.html in this folder if I wanted to. Why is this? And we're going to talk more about this when, and so you can see it here. See, there's my first index in the root folder, and then here's my example folder with its index in there as well. I'm going to delete the example folder though. I just wanted to give you this example, and the reason why. Why is it that we're making these like index.html? Because, well, and again, we're going to learn more about this when we get to the server stuff next semester. But when you go, if this was a website and I went to the root of the website, like mywebsite.com, it's going to load this. The whatever index.html is at the root folder, it's going to load that index.html. But alternatively, if I went to mywebsite.com/example, see, /example, it would load this without me having to put index.html in there. And that's the reason why we name any go-to file inside of a folder, we name it index.html. So with that being said, we're going to make our index.html, which is the first one that we made. We're also going to need another folder, In this folder, we're going to name img. This is for any images that we're going to use. We can put them in there. We'll make another folder called CSS. You can see it here, just so that you you get the visual representation of what you know. This over here is what you know, what you're used to looking at. And this is what you're not used to looking at. So you can kind of bridge the two. So we got a CSS folder, an image folder, an index.html. What do we have here? All of this in this image here is inside of a folder, right? And then you got the index.html, and then beside these, because these are different web pages, but alongside these different files here, you would have your image folder and your CSS folder, right? Now we can make our other HTML files if we want to. We can do this now, or we could do it later. What it would look like if we did it now is we would have the other pages, for example, like about.html, or contact.html. These are going to be the other pages in the website, so that when you click the link from the index.html to the contact us page, it brings you to this file. Okay. Oh, you sent an email to me? I will check it. I'll check it after this. But is this making sense? What I've gone through so far, is it making sense to everybody so far? Let me know in the chat if this is making sense so far. Okay, good. So this is how we build our, this is how we start building our structure, right? The email is related to right now. Can't type it, maybe because of YouTube settings. Oh. Well, I can't check it now because I can't. Oh, actually, wait. Let me see if my phone's still linked to my. It should be. Because if it's a question about now, it's better to answer it now. So. Jeez. Okay, I can't answer it now because it's. Oh wait. I don't know if I have my password on my phone. I can't check it now on my while I'm doing this live stream. No, I'll have to answer it after we're done. So I will answer it after we're done this. So, okay. So that's a file structure. Now, starting the web page, we already went through that, but let's do it again on this new page thingy we got here. So let's get rid of those. And so we got our declaration. We'll put our opening HTML tag, right? We'll put our, because this is like literally the whole page. And then we'll put the head again. and we will put the body again. Same time, same way, every time we start writing this, we're going to do the exact same thing. And that's how you're going to memorize this stuff. So then we will put, we're going to build this up the proper way this time. So we're going to put a div here. We don't, well, I mean, we can give these the classes so that we know what they are. Div class header. I'm going to teach you what these are. We're not really going ahead by doing this, but this is what we need to do to know what each one of these are. We'll put a nav bar. Main. Oops. And we will put a footer. And inside of the header, we will write something that is in here. Like these, right? And we're going to mess with these too. Well, not span, but we'll mess with something else. So in the header, we'll put some H1 because we want the biggest header letters we can have, and say like website header. Yeah. And then in the nav, we will write some nav. Yeah, we'll write some navigation. So when we write our nav, you got to remember, we use these not only to hold content, like in this case, but we're also building the structure of the page. Remember, just like the image here, we're building literally a structure, a framework. We're building up a structure. That's the only word I can put to it. We're literally building a structure of a web page. Okay, like building a building. Okay. To build the building, you gotta have beams. Okay. Now, and this is going to be the perfect example of what I mean by putting the beams in there to build the page. The more structure, well, it's not the more structure the better, but you have to use the proper structure to do certain things and do it the most efficient way possible. Okay, so what does that look like? Well, when we build our navigation, we're going to build it using a few different things. And again, I don't expect you to memorize all this. I just expect you to get acquainted, get an acquaintance with looking at what we're looking at, right? This is a tag. This is a list tag for an ordered list. Okay, so we're basically going to build navigation using a list of things, which is going to be the list of things is going to be the navigation links. Okay, now we could use this using an ordered list or an unordered list. It doesn't matter which one you use. And we're going to look at the difference between the two. Like the ordered list just shows like bullet points of numbers, and the unordered list uses the circle bullet points. That's the only difference. Okay, so this controls what these do, list items. Okay, so let's just do this at first so you can see the difference. or I won't put the same, I'll put like different. Okay, let's save this. So we have an ordered list, and then we have list items. Okay, again, structure. This is like the top of the structure of the list itself, and then these are the list items within the list. These are all children of the list. And those children are siblings. Oh wait, this is a totally different web page, I totally forgot. So we're going to come back here to the tab and copy path, and then we'll just paste this over that. So see, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, right? If I come in and change this to UL, the list will be exactly the same, but instead of letters, there'll be bullet points. Okay, so it doesn't matter which one of these we use, because later on down the line when we start using CSS, we're going to get rid of the bullet points anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay, but we're using it to structure the navigation. Okay, we're using it to structure the navigation. That's all we're doing. So this is going to get a little bit more confusing, but not by much. Because inside of these list items, we're going to put the links themselves, right? We have to put a link in there. And to use a link, we have to make an anchor tag or an A tag. So we put the A tag, right? And just to show you outside of what that looks like, it's just an A like this. Okay, this is an anchor tag. So we're putting an anchor tag inside of the list item, and then we can put the link in there, like home, right? And what that would look like is this, but we have to do something further to get this to work. Should we do that now? I think we should wait till next week to do that, because we would be jumping ahead. So let's just put these A tags into these list items and just put like home, about, contact, and I don't know, blog. I usually just use those as my little default. Home, about, contact, blog. And that would be our navigation. It's not working yet. We'll get to that point. Next week, we will get to that point. But that is the structure of that. So, I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than we started, because we have more stuff on there. But to some degree, you should be able to look at this because, again, you know what these things are. When you see something in between, like less than and greater than signs, you know what they are. I just call them triangle brackets, so whatever. But when you see something in between those two triangle brackets, you know what it is. You know it is a tag. It is an element. So this is an element. And when I highlight it, you can see that it's opening its corresponding opening and closing element. You know that this is an element, right? The A tags, the LI tags, the UL tags, all of these are just elements on the page. And you know that when you see text in between it, it is plain text. Just like this. Okay? Now, let's go into the main and put what we were doing before. So let's write a H1, and we can write text in HTML. And then we can put an explanation. This explanation we'll put in H2, and we'll say heading text is by H tags, well, by heading tags. H1 is the largest, and it goes to H6, which is the smallest. We're going to write this page as your cheat sheet. So, H1, text. Whoops. We're going to write the same thing that we wrote before. And I'm not going to copy and paste it because I want to keep writing this over and over and over again, because that's how you practice and how you start to memorize this stuff. So H2, text, H3, and yada yada yada, all the way down. Whoops, I gotta change that to a capital T. All the way down to 6. Whoops, 4. Text 5, and on. Boom. Take another look. Bam. Or you could put instead of text, you could put like, you know, H1, H2, H3, whatever. If you want to do it that way. That way when you see it on the front end, you'll know what's what. H1, H5, and this. You could do that too, if you want to. Right? And then we will put another H1 as a heading to say, or no, this should be H2, my bad. So we'll put it in H2, and we'll say paragraph text is wrapped in P tags. And we'll write a P tag that's not going to work. No, that will work. Because I can't. Let me just check this real quick. I can't remember off the top of my head which one. No, that's fine. Because I want to put the symbol there. It's like the and should be greater. Please, damn symbol. Because this is both of the symbols. I'm trying to get the just a greater symbol and the less than symbol so that you can put it in there. Can't remember what it's named off the top of my head though. There it is. So this is what you're gonna put. Paragraph is wrapped in p tags. Put this. And like less than LT and then GT. So ampersand LT colon and then put a letter P in there and then ampersand GT semicolon. I don't know why I forgot that. I was thinking ampersand greater and then ampersand less. Yeah, it happens. So this will show you the actual tag. See, this is what greater and the less than, it like puts them both on top of each other. I wanted just the symbol itself. So we could put that there. I'll post this in the chat so you can all get it there too. How do you autocomplete ending tag? Yes, with the greater than symbol with the right triangle bracket. Once you type the here look. Once you type a thing, right? Once you put the ending triangle bracket, it'll autocomplete the closing tag. Also, when you're typing something, like, as you can see, the editor is trying to anticipate what I'm going to type. And all editors do this unless you tell it not to. Unless you're using like Notepad++, I don't know if it does this. It's been a long time since I used Notepad++. And if you're using something like Nano in the command line, then it won't do it at all because they just don't get down like that. But any editor like, VS Code or Atom, Sublime, they're all going to try to anticipate what you're... See, if I type in this, it just puts like class, and then I just push enter to fill it, right? And then once I put the closing triangle bracket, it gives me the ending div, right? Now, using this to type fast is going to just be a matter of you getting used to using the editor. It'll start to come the more... It's like playing a video game. The more you play it, the better you get at it, and then next thing you know, you're just running through it. It's going to be the same thing, okay? Here's another thing we should put in here, because I've got to teach you how to do this too. Paragraph text is wrapped in p tags. We can also make... Well, this is only going to work in VS Code. so we can also make dummy text. I should put in VS Code. In VS Code by typing lorem and pressing the tab key. And I forgot to put my periods in there. So if we come down here and we type in inside of these p tags LOREM and push the tab key, it'll give us some dummy text that we can use to just fill space. We can also put lorem and a number and it'll give us that number of words like that. And just like add more. So here, let me do this. Let me break this up into two different headings. We can also make dummy text in VS Code by typing lorem and pressing the tab key, or typing lorem and a number. And pressing the tab key. So there. So paragraph text is wrapped in p tags. We can also make dummy text in VS Code by typing lorem and pressing the tab key, or typing lorem, like 300 for example, lorem and a number, and pressing the tab key. And then we will get the set amount of text. Another thing that we should talk about. Let me get rid of some of this lorem text because there's too much of shit there. So I'm gonna just lorem tab it, and then in the next thing down here, we're gonna put some h2 again, and we're gonna say we're going to say this: block elements take up the full width of its parent container by default. And then we're going to write an h3 and say inspect me. Or inspect me and then put in brackets, right click on me and press inspect element. So I forgot to close in bracket. So this cheat sheet is going to literally show you what to do. So when you right click this, and you go to inspect element code, what does it do? When you highlight it, it shows you this H3 is a block element. Why? Because the thing goes from one side to the other, even though the text only takes up like just under half of the screen size that it is as of now. You see what I'm saying? That's a block element. Okay? So anything that you highlight, you right click on it and it does this, you know, okay, that is a block element. And for the most part, we have block elements on this whole page. Well, no, not all of them. These are not block elements. But we're going to write something that is not a block element so that you can compare the two. Because underneath that, we're going to write the next thing, H2, inline elements only take up the space only take up the size of its contents. So whatever you put in there, that's the size it's going to be, or whatever it's wrapped around. So let's do one example like this, or wait, we need to add more to this. Inline elements only take up the size of its contents, or the best way to put this, because the one example I'm going to show you was like we're gonna, or okay, or can just occupy some space in a block element. So we're going to give you two examples. One example is an A tag. This link, or this A tag link is an inline so this A tag is an inline element. See, when I highlight it, what is it? What does it highlight? It only highlights the space of the content that's in it. It doesn't go from one side to the other side of the screen. Another example would be some paragraph text, because paragraph is a block element. I'm going to Lorem tab that up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap some of this text in a thing that's going to change the behavior of said text. So I think I should split this up into a different thing. Hold on. Let's do this. Hold on. Let's do this last. What I'm about to do here, get rid of that. We're going to do it last because it's going to show you a couple different things there. What I'll do is what's it called? JPEG. Hopefully they let me hot link this. You could go to any image on the internet we're just gonna link, and this might work, it might not work. It depends on how you, if the image that you're gonna do this with, if they allow for you to hot link. They might not, and if it doesn't allow you to hot link, then it won't work. But just get the address. So you right click on the image itself and you just say copy image address. And then this is gonna be a big image too though. Yeah. Put an image tag and put a source. So img src and just paste what was in there. It's big, but whatever. The point is, this is an inline element, right? Because it doesn't highlight all the way from the left to the right. It only highlights the image itself. And it's inside. What is this? What is this inside of? It's inside of the main. It's just occupying some space inside of the main content area. And it just takes up the space that it is. It'd be nice to get a more decently sized small yeah. Okay, well, without going on a wild goose chase, so whatever. You get the point though. Now, the next thing I was going to do is this. Maybe we should split this up. Okay, we're going to split this up a little bit. How are we going to do that? We're going to use horizontal rules inside of here. So, text and HTML, the heading stuff. After the heading stuff, we could put an HR. And all this tag does is adds a line across the page. Like this. So we can add kind of like sections, or just section off stuff. We could even put one up here, like this. So HR, that's a section, you know that's a section. And then paragraph text is wrapped in p tags. You can also make the dummy text. So after this, we'll put another horizontal rule. In the block elements. So block elements take up full width of the page, yada yada yada. Click this, you can check it out. Inline elements take up. Okay, so let's get more of these inline elements now. So, oh wait, we should put a horizontal rule here too. Just so we can split those two up. Okay, so block elements, inline elements. So inline elements take up there, and then we can put down here and some H2. The following examples are inline inline elements that that what's the right word? That alter text. So paragraph, or no. First let's put H2 so that we can make sure it's all organized. Bold text. Put some paragraph. Lorem tab. So we have our text there. We can take a look at it first so we can see. So the following are examples. The following examples are inline elements that alter text. Bold text. How do we do bold text? We use the strong tag. And we can put the strong tag in there and, like, say, cut out some of this. Just highlight some of the lorem text, exit out, and just paste it in between the strong tags. And see? Inline element right here. If we inspect this here, we can see that this element, the strong element, is an inline element because it exists within here and it does not make its own line. You see what I'm saying? That's another inline element. I really want to change this emoji. There we go. I don't want it too big picture though. You get some of these pictures that are huge. I'll just use this and make sure the size is icon. That's too big. Oh well, I'm using it anyway. So long as they allow me to hot link. They might not. There we go. I need to put, oh, and see, because these damn, these IMGs, this image here, is a inline element, and as such, it doesn't put itself on its own line, right? See how this image is beside this? This tag isn't. So this tag here, this is an inline element and this is an inline element. If I want to put space between this tag and this tag, I have to put a BR tag in there. And this, because I remember I talked about this in the first lecture. Remember when I was like, don't do this? If you see yourself doing this, you're doing it wrong, because BR tags are something that you only want to use sparingly, like one of them by itself type of thing, to separate two things, like so. Right? Or you could put, like, say, one there. This tag is the inline element. No, that's what I would do. And I mean, look, it sucks that like they're right on top of each other because it makes you think that this has something to do with this, even though it doesn't. And that's why you see people doing this, because they want to put more space in between the two, like that, which is understandable. But there's a right way and a wrong way. Um, like even this, you can get away with, but when you start to see it like there's five of them, six of them, that's not the right way to do it. The right way to do it is when we start learning CSS, and then you do it that way. Okay? So just keep that in mind, everybody. Um, I thought bolding was B. You can use that too. You can use that too. It's okay. We got that. Lorem tab again. And we will wrap some of this. Oh wait, I forgot to add the, what's it called? The H2 before. Say like italic text. And we can put the I tags there and put this in the I tag. And boom, we got some italic text there. There's another one, there's the highlight one, but I can't remember off the top of my head. HTML highlights. And I'm not span either, because we're gonna go through mark. It's mark. So mark is the next one, which is highlighting. So H2 highlight text. So we're going to put the paragraph again, lorem it up. And then we're going to put mark tags in here. Like this. And these mark tags will highlight the text. So those are all examples. There are more. There's also the I was just flying through my head because I just looked at it literally a second ago. It's total brain fart. What's it called? There's a one where you can. It's like an all-purpose thing you can wrap. You can wrap text in. I'm having a total brain fart right now. Span. My bad. Span tags. But to use span tags, we would have to use CSS, and we're not. Like we can put it there. We can put it in here. It's better that you learn what these are now anyway, but we're not gonna like really. And we'll just put span tags and in brackets these are all-purpose inline wrapping tags that you can use to wrap. And it's not only for text either. You can wrap anything in a span tag and just do whatever. But for the most part, text, all-purpose inline wrapping tags that you can use to wrap stuff. Usually text and manipulate it using CSS. I hope that's not too long on the page and make it look too cluttered up. Okay, that's fine. So, and then put, lorem tab, and then just put some span tags in there, like that, and then just throw some of the text in it. But see, again, to use those, we have to use CSS. So, I mean, it's wrapped now, but it won't do anything. Here, we'll just write some inline see, and I really don't want to get you out in the habit of using this. But whatever. So if we put that there, it'll make it red. So span style equals color red. I'll post this in the chat. But this is typically we're never going to do it this way. What I just did is something that we are never going to use on the regular. Once we start learning CSS, we're going to be doing it the proper way. This is a way, like in this case, this is the only case that I want to see you doing something like that. Okay? Because this is adding CSS as an attribute, and that's not what we do. In the footer, we'll just put some H5, and we will write the following: ampersand copy semicolon 2021 some basic web page, whatever. So there you have it. Yeah, we already did all that. So does everybody have all this? Let me know in the chat. Yeah, I mean, all in all, this is your basic. You just wrote your first, well, unless you've done this before, then you just wrote your first web page / cheat sheet. What is the last line? I can't read the blue. Oh. Oh yeah, this is here. That's what this is. Whenever you see an HTML, something starting with an ampersand, right? These are all symbols. Um, so if we go here and write an HTML symbols list, we will get a list of different symbols that we can use, because these are not like regular text, right? Greek letters, some other junk, playing cards and stuff. Like if I go here and throw that in there, then it'll put that symbol there, see? Again, you're not going to memorize all these. And I don't expect you to memorize. I don't memorize all of them, but you just reference the chart whenever you want a symbol. There's more with this, like this one you might memorize after a while, and like maybe this one you might memorize after a while. HTML symbols full list. There we go. See, there's a ton of them. And the symbol is like ampersand something semicolon. It's always ampersand something semicolon. When you start writing an ampersand and like something, like an ampersand and then put a letter or something, it'll try to anticipate what you're trying to do. Yeah, see? So, yeah, that is about it. So we can stop it there. And if anybody's got any questions, now would be the time to ask. I'll give a minute because I know there's a delay. I'm going to see if I can find out why there's a delay. The first time it do, I have to check. I have to check the, there's like a spreadsheet. I have to check that, but I will update. I'm going to update all those. I'll start updating those when we're done here. So you will see when I finish updating, when I update all those dates, I'll post an announcement on Blackboard. Yep, no problem. All right, well, if there's no other questions, then you are free to go. So we'll see you next week in our sync class. And after the stream is done, if you have any questions, also you can just email me and I'll get to that as well. Yeah, I will not forget you. I'm gonna check your email right now. Actually, now that we're ending the stream, I'll check it. Yes, if you are from the classes tomorrow, let me just check my schedule here. If you're from the where's my damn schedule? If you're from one of my classes tomorrow, those classes are still on. So yeah, the 9:50 class is still on. This is just the async class, or not class, but this is like an async time that I have to allot to working with students, right? So, but the async or but the sync classes tomorrow are still on. So make sure you're there. Yep, it's the same content. It's just a lecture. So in the sync, we cover the lecture, like how we did yesterday and how we did last week. We covered just the lecture. And then the the async, we practice what we went over in the lecture, like how we did today. Yes, exactly. And the Friday async is going to be the same thing as this. Yeah. And the reason why I kind of like doing it like I mean doing it twice is kind of like doing it twice is kind of like whatever, like it's kind of pointless in the sense of like you're doing the exact same thing two times. But people that aren't in the live like to ask certain questions today, they might be different questions on the next time we do it, right? And we could even do the exact same thing, but just do it a little bit differently. You know what I mean? Or just look at something totally like do the same thing, but different examples. I guess you can say we could do. So it kind of it can kind of work out that way. You know, like today we built this one web page. We could we could go over the same material, but not necessarily build the same web page. You know what I mean? Because there's multiple different aspects of this stuff that you got to look at. And there might be different questions from the students that, like, say, students that didn't come today that might come Friday, they might have different questions that they want answered. So I think it's a good idea to do it that way. Yeah. So I mean, these asyncs are just like practicing what we go over in that week's lecture and like building something, looking at examples of that thing because the 2 hours is more time to work with. The 1 hour is not enough time to do. I mean, look at what we did today. It took the full 2 hours, right? Minus the hiccup at the beginning. So yeah, yeah. So if you can't make exactly, if you can't make the Friday one, or yeah, if you can't make the Friday one, you come to the Wednesday one, and you know what I mean. Then you can watch the Friday one whenever you can. But that's what I'm trying to do, right? So, all right, 5 o'clock. So we can call it a day. If you are in one of my classes for tomorrow, then I will see you there. And if you are in my uh, Tuesday class, then I'll see you on Tuesday. Um, and then of course I'll be doing the another async on Friday. So if you make it to that, then I will see you there as well. All right. So see you all later, and I will end the stream now.